What's up, motherfuckers? I'm not sure what you thought this video was going to be, but we're going to be ranting about morality over Snake gameplay. Take it or leave it. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I don't have much lived life experience yet, and I won't be approaching the discussion from a religious background, although religions can oftentimes be a good thing. For the sake of this video, it will be assumed that morals are largely based off of society. At its core, the question of morality depends whether a given action is positive or negative, but this sort of broad interpretation gives credence to a lot of inconsistencies, especially when considering whether the positives or negatives pertain to either an individual or population. We might be thinking, I don't know what you're thinking, but it could be this. That, sure, that's like the difference between a more individualistic society, like Western society, or a communal society. But in that case, each society has a backing for its giving baseline for moral act. But for humanity as a whole, we are still missing a solid foundation for what constitutes as a moral act. I've heard the argument be floated around that a moral act is one that benefits humanity as a whole, or like as a population. But it doesn't fit how morality is viewed both in society or common forms of media. It is often romanticized when a character in a show or movie sacrifices the greater good for a loved one. Yes, it is possible to romanticize an innately immoral act, but that doesn't explain morality on a micro scale. Let's say you have an ice cream truck, and the ice cream truck owner is selling ice cream to a kid. The kid is short a couple cents for the ice cream that he's trying to buy, but the ice cream owner will more than not give the ice cream to the kid who is missing the couple cents. That is viewed as a moral action, but it doesn't fall under, categorically, something that benefits humanity as a whole or for survival. So that kind of discussion is kind of irrelevant when it talks about actions for morality. Another problem arises, though, if we attribute morality on a case-by-case basis. This part of the discussion is going to get a little bit personal, but it's regarding common manners and etiquette. Both you and I will likely never have to make a decision which involves morality on a large scale, so the basis in which concerns us when it comes to morality is in day-to-day life. Let's start with something simple, like when someone drops a bunch of paper on the ground. Do you help the person pick it back up? Well, first, you'd have to ask yourself, was it an organized stack, or if you were to help, you would just make it disorganized when they're picking it up? Is it something deeply personal or important that they just wouldn't want you to touch? Are you close enough to the person physically so that when you pick up a paper, they won't have an awkward pause and waste a couple seconds that they would have used more effectively using heuristics to pick up everything else themselves? Congratulations, you just wasted a second of their time. That is a very moral action. Obviously, that's very exaggerated, but even then, it's not that simple, because obviously people do appreciate small kind acts and gestures. By helping, both you and them will have felt better than after the encounter. But I can't help a feeling that's kind of superficial if that's one of the main reasons why people help each other, which it kind of is, but also kind of isn't. Take volunteer work. In most cases, it does wonders for whatever causes they're trying to tackle. It is an amazing pastime that's both fulfilling and makes the world a better place. You can even meet other amazing people who are trying to do better in this world. But if it didn't feel so good to volunteer, how many people do you think would keep going back and make it a consistent part of their routine? On a certain level, it is like profiting off of the misfortune of whatever situation is in need of the volunteer work. You profit by feeling good by helping others with their misfortune. I guess the main difference for that is whether you feel good about the help you gave to whatever cause it was about, or if you felt good by being the one who was helping. But these are not mutually exclusive, and oftentimes it is a mix of both. And also, obviously, policing your mind after every good deed is just not a good way to live your life. So I guess in that case, we'd just be stuck analyzing situations, thinking whether helping is a moral or immoral act. I respect people heavily who don't seem to have to think every time someone needs help and they spring to action immediately, even if it's something small, and that's something I want to work on. In some cases, I'd be thinking if something is actually moral, or that's justification on why I freeze and have to grapple with the fact that I have criteria when deciding to help someone, which is something that everyone kind of has to deal with. That kind of goes into another thing. At what point is it moral to put other needs above your own? Oftentimes when people rant or vent to me, I'll listen and give feedback, ruin my schedules and routines to give them the time that they need. Because obviously they're going through something if they went out of their way to ask me for help. And while it does help, I know it really didn't need to come from me, and they could have gotten that help from really anyone else that they're willing to talk to. I take this information, but instead of drawing boundaries with others, I question whether asking other people for help is moral, or, you get what I mean, based on how much I'd bother them and how much help I'd receive from it. This isn't healthy because most of the time you just want to be heard, but that is also a problem, because it is quite literally putting your problems on someone else. It might not seem that literal, but think of a time when someone told you a massive problem they were having, and whether it caused you any sort of mental anguish. If you did really care about their problem, you should be mentally invested in whether they are able to solve it or not. Obviously, you're not bearing the brunt of their problem, but in some way, they are offloading and outsourcing it. But this doesn't mean if you need help with anything, or if you just want to be heard in your problems, or just vent to people, that you should overthink it. Because most of the time, when people are close enough to be able to vent to, they really wouldn't mind whether you ask them for help or not. It's really not a burden to most people. So like every other discussion on morality or empathy, I'll end it like this. Just be a good person and live your life. Don't overthink things that don't need to be overthunk, like morality. This is really just a kind of stupid topic for someone my age, I really don't need to be thinking about this yet. With that, what's up, chicken butt? Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed or got anything out of the video. Hopefully the next video is more structured, but it probably won't be. And hopefully I have better gameplay in the background next time. Adios, gang.